how did a quest for immortality, something kind of like what Gilgamesh went through, how did that transform into a story that's, well, pretty much defined by a terrifying, like, world-shaking temper tantrum?
Yeah, and what's the real difference, psychologically speaking, between a hero who's all about brute force, physical might, and one who basically gets by using pathological cunning, strategy, lies, the whole package?
And totally shifting gears from poetry for a sec, how did these wild, chaotic, frankly drunken festivals for the god of wine, how did that give us the basis for modern tragedy, profound tragedy?
It seems unlikely, doesn't it? And finally, why did the ultimate Roman leader Augustus feel he needed a poet to, well, sacrifice this incredibly powerful love story, all for the good of the empire? Seemed pretty calculating.
Welcome to a new episode from our series, The Story of Literature, from English Plus Podcast.
So we're definitely leaving behind the grim, colder world of Gilgamesh and Mesopotamia that we talked about last time. We're heading west now into a completely different landscape, bathed in the blue light of the Aegean. We're talking ancient Greece and Rome.
And the shift feels immediate, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite profound.
It really is. I mean, think about the gods from last time, these distant, kind of terrifying, monolithic forces.
Yeah.
The Greek gods, totally different.
Right, they're not distant at all. They're right here messing things up constantly.
Exactly. They're, as you put it, this incredibly dysfunctional, squabbling family, almost like cosmic reality TV stars, right?
What?
Reflecting every single petty human passion you can imagine. Jealousy, pride, lust, anger, you name it.
Which I guess sets the stage for a literature that, okay, it still deals with destiny and fate, but it feels way more focused on human passion, right?
Yeah.
And flawed decisions. The stakes feel more personal.
Precisely. And that's really our mission, to explore the poetry, the drama, the philosophy that they created. These are the foundational texts, the bedrock of what we now call Western literature.
These are the stories that keep echoing, aren't they? Morally, politically.
Yeah, absolutely. Their echoes still shape our modern compasses, asking these relentless questions about destiny and duty and, how much free will do we actually have. We need to understand not just what they wrote, but why these particular structures, these ways of telling stories, became the sort of defaults for everything that came after.
Okay, so where do we start? It has to be Homer, doesn't it? Though calling him a man feels inadequate. He's more like this huge mythical shadow hanging over everything.
Indeed. The whole Homer question is one of the great enduring mysteries in literature. Was he a real person? A single, maybe blind Iodos, that's a professional singer of tales meticulously composing these massive poems around, say, the 8th century BCE.
Or the other theory.
Or, as frankly many scholars lean towards now, is Homer just the convenient label we've attached to this enormous, organic, evolving tradition of oral storytelling that spanned generations?
Either way, the process itself must have been incredible. I mean, they weren't sitting down writing novels. They had these tools, right? Specific rhythms, those formulaic phrases.
The epithets, yeah, like swift-footed Achilles or rosy-fingered Dawn.
Exactly. Things they could pull out to compose on the spot, basically, to fill the lines while singing, connecting it all back to earlier performances people remembered.
That oral improvisational element is absolutely key, and you really can't overstate the impact of the Iliad and the Odyssey. For the Greeks, this wasn't just, history class or entertainment.
No, it was more.
Much more. These were their foundational texts, their moral compass, their direct link back to this glorious, maybe semi-mythical past they called the Age of Heroes. To be Greek was to know Homer. It defined them.
All right, let's dive into the Iliad then. And the first thing to grasp is, it's not the whole story of the Trojan War, is it? Not the full 10 years.
No, not at all. It drops you right into the thick of it, into the final, most critical moments. It focuses intensely on just a few weeks, really, of profound psychological drama.
And the very first word of the poem, in Greek, just lays it all out. Monon.
Rage. Fury. That's the subject. The poem's focus is laser sharp. It's about the fury of Achilles and the spark that lights the fuse. It's purely human. It's this devastating argument over honor.
Between the commander, Agamemnon,
Right. Powerful guy, but deeply insecure, maybe a bit greedy.
and Achilles.
Okay.
The greatest warrior they have, but impossibly proud. Volatile.
Exactly. So the whole mess starts when Agamemnon is forced by the gods, specifically Apollo, who sends a plague. He's forced to return his war prize, a woman named Chryseis.
Okay.
Now, to make up for this loss of face, this loss of prestige, he just unilaterally decides, okay, I'm taking Achilles' prize, the woman Briseis. And this is where we hit that absolutely critical Greek concept.
Time.
Right, time. It's not just honor like we might think of it today, is it?
No, it's much more concrete. It's your public worth, your recognized value in the community, and it's measured literally by the gifts and prizes you receive. So for Agamemnon to just seize Briseis, that wasn't just theft.
It was a public slap in the face. Totally. It was a direct attack on Achilles' whole identity, his standing. Agamemnon was essentially saying, your incredible skill, your battlefield prowess means nothing next to my authority.
And Achilles, whose entire sense of self is tied up in his achievements, his time, he almost kills Agamemnon right there.
He does. He's only stopped by the goddess Athena grabbing his hair, but he makes this fateful, devastating choice instead. He publicly announces he's pulling himself and his elite troops, the Myrmidons, out of the war.
Just walks away.
Declares, I will not fight again until my honor is restored. Full stop.
And the impact is immediate. Catastrophic for the Greeks.
Oh, absolutely earth-shattering. Achilles is the linchpin of the Greek army. With him gone, the Trojans, led by the noble Hector, they start pushing the Greeks back, gaining ground rapidly. Homer gives you this brutal, bloody, wide-angle view of the battlefield. He names warriors as they fall, makes you feel the cost.
You really understand what Achilles' wounded pride is costing everyone else.
Exactly. And while all this horror is unfolding down on the plains of Troy, where are the gods?
Up on Mount Olympus, watching it all like a show.
Yeah.
And not just watching, right? They're interfering constantly. This is that cosmic reality TV thing you mentioned.
It really is. They are absolutely not impartial. They're picking sides, playing favorites like crazy.
It's kind of ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. You've got Apollo sending plagues because he's annoyed. Aphrodite literally yanks her favorite, Paris, out of a duel just before he gets killed. Ares, the actual god of war, gets wounded by a mortal, Diomedes, and runs crying to Daddy Zeus.
Wow.
And even Zeus, the king of the gods, is constantly getting manipulated by his wife Hera. She uses her charms, deceives him, all to get him to help the Greeks, even though he'd promised Achilles he'd let the Trojans win for a bit to restore Achilles' honor.
So wait, if the gods are this flawed, this petty, what does that mean for the idea of fate in the Greek world? Are things just destined to be chaotic? Or are the gods just reflecting the human mess?
That's a great question. It strongly suggests that often fate is just human passion writ large. The gods act out the same petty jealousies, the same rages that the humans down below are consumed by. It suggests the universe isn't run by calm wisdom, but by chaos and bickering. It's actually a pretty bleak worldview when you think about it.
Which makes Achilles' big philosophical crisis even more powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Greeks are getting hammered, pushed right back against their ships, about to be wiped out. Agamemnon finally hits the panic button.
He does. He sends a delegation, Odysseus, the big, strong Ajax, and Achilles' old tutor Phoenix to Achilles' tent. And he offers this enormous treasure hoard, plus the return of Briseis, swearing she's untouched.
Everything Achilles could want, materially.
Right. But Achilles, he turns them all down flat, and he gives this absolutely breathtaking speech where he questions the entire heroic code he's lived by. He asks, why should he risk his life for a guy like Agamemnon?
He knows his fate, doesn't he? The choice.
Exactly. He knows he has two paths. Kleosaptaton, undying glory, which means a short life and death in Troy, or a long, quiet, anonymous life back home. And he seriously considers going home. He says, and this line is just devastating to the whole code, I see now that the brave man and the coward are held in the same honor.
Wow. He's not just rejecting the gold, he's rejecting the whole value system. He's saying maybe immortal fame isn't worth dying for.
Yeah.
But he doesn't stick with that, does he? What pulls him back isn't honor.
No, it's love and overwhelming grief. This is the pivot. His best friend, his closest companion, Patroclus, he begs Achilles to let him wear Achilles' famous armor and lead the Myrmidons back into the fight. Just the sight of the armor might scare the Trojans, rally the Greeks.
Achilles agrees, but reluctantly, with a warning.
Very reluctantly, and with a strict warning. Push them back from the ships, but do not pursue the Trojans past the wall. Come straight back.
But Patroclus,
Yeah.
he gets caught up in the moment. The Aristeia, the glory.
Exactly. The adrenaline, the success. He forgets the warning, he charges too far, gets isolated, and he's killed by the great Trojan prince Hector.
And the news just breaks Achilles.
Shatters him. That simmering, controlled rage he had before, it transforms into this cold, terrifying, nihilistic fury focused entirely on one thing: vengeance against Hector.
So he returns to battle. New armor, forged by a god.
Hephaestus, yeah. He's not even human anymore. He becomes this force of nature, a death machine mowing down Trojans. The climax, inevitably, is the duel between Achilles and Hector. Hector knows he's likely doomed, but he fights for his city, his family.
It's tragic, brutal. But Achilles, his grief makes him go further than just killing Hector.
So much further. His vengeance is so absolute, he crosses a line that would have shocked any Greek. He ties Hector's body to the back of his chariot and drags it in the dust. Around and around the walls of Troy, in full view of Hector's horrified family, his wife, his parents, it's the ultimate act of desecration. The hero has become a monster.
But the poem doesn't end there, with that horror.
No, and this is where the Iliad truly becomes a masterpiece of psychology, not just a war epic. It ends not with a battle cry, but with this incredibly quiet, profound moment of shared humanity.
Priam, Hector's father.
Old King Priam. Guided by the god Hermes, he risks everything to sneak into the enemy camp, into Achilles' tent, bringing ransom for his son's body. He gets down on his knees
And kisses the hands.
the hands of the man who murdered his son. And he begs Achilles for pity, asks him to remember his own elderly father, Peleus, waiting back home.
And that breaks through the rage.
It does. In that instant, the consuming rage is just gone. Achilles looks at this broken old man, sees his own father, sees the shared sorrow, the universal pain of losing someone you love. They weep together for Patroclus and for Hector.
Wow.
The rage is finally purged, empathy replaces it. Achilles gives Hector's body back for a proper funeral. And that's the ultimate takeaway, isn't it? That shared grief, shared humanity is stronger than rage, that the only real victory is clawing back your own humanity from that abyss of vengeance.
Okay, so if Achilles is the hero defined by force, by BA, his counterpart in the sequel epic, Odysseus. He's a complete opposite, right? The hero of cunning, of Medes.
Exactly. The Odyssey isn't about a battlefield rage. It's about this long, arduous, 10-year journey just trying to get home after the war.
It's the ultimate adventure story full of monsters and magic.
Absolutely. Cyclops, witches, sirens, angry gods. It's got it all. But psychologically, it might be even deeper than the Iliad. It's fundamentally asking, who are you when everything that defines you is stripped away? Your crew, your ships, your wealth, your status, even your name at times.
It's about resilience then, and rebuilding yourself.
Resilience, adaptation, and the painstaking, often painful reconstruction of identity. That's the core.
And his main weapon isn't a spear, though he can fight. It's his brain. Intelligence, strategy, and, let's be honest, a talent for deception. He's the anti-Achilles. Achilles was all about truth and sunlight. Odysseus thrives in the shadows of clever lies.
The classic example, the one everyone knows, is the Cyclops, Polyphemus. Odysseus knows he can't possibly overpower this giant son of Poseidon.
So he uses his wits.
Pure psychological warfare. First, gets the Cyclops drunk on this incredibly strong wine he happened to have. Then, while the giant's passed out, he blinds him with a sharpened olive stake.
In the name trick.
Brilliant. When the blinded Cyclops is roaring in agony and asks who attacked him, Odysseus yells back, "No man did it! No man is killing me!" So when the other Cyclops come running and ask Polyphemus what's wrong, he shouts, "No man is killing me!" And they just go, "Oh, well, if nobody's hurting you, must be a plague from Zeus. Pray to your father."
It's pure wordplay saving his life. Yeah. Incredible.
And he needs that cunning constantly, navigating between Scylla, the six-headed monster who will eat 6 of his men,
and Charybdis, the giant whirlpool that will swallow the whole ship.
Right, he has to make that awful choice, sacrifice 6 to save the rest. Or think about the sirens, whose singing lures sailors to their deaths. How does he handle that?
He has his men plug their ears with wax.
Right, but he wants to hear the song, so he has them tie him tightly to the ship's mast. He gets to experience the irresistible temptation, but is physically prevented from acting on it. Pure strategy.
But it's not just external monsters, is it? There are these psychological trials, too. Circe.
Yeah, the sorceress Circe, who turns his men into pigs. He spends a whole year with her, has to outsmart her too, and then 7 years, basically held captive, on the island of the beautiful nymph Calypso.
And Calypso offers him, well, everything. More than Agamemnon offered Achilles, she offers him immortality.
The ultimate temptation. A life of endless pleasure, youth, power, safety, married to a goddess. No more suffering, no more struggle.
So why turn it down? Why choose to go back to his aging wife Penelope, his troubled kingdom, his mortal life?
That choice is the heart of the new heroic ideal Odysseus represents. He chooses mortality. He chooses humanity with all its flaws and struggles and its eventual end. He understands somehow that life's value comes from its limits, from the effort effort, from the connections you forge in the face of that finitude. It's a massive shift from the glory-seeking Achilles. He's choosing resilience and connection over godhood.
And speaking of redefining things, his trip to the underworld, that's a huge moment too. It's not like Gilgamesh's vision of the afterlife, that bleak house of dust.
No, it's different. Odysseus can actually talk to the shades of the dead, and he has this incredibly dramatic, pivotal conversation with the ghost of Achilles.
Who he expects to be like doing the dead,
Yeah.
right? Still glorious.
Exactly. Odysseus tries to flatter him, saying, "Wow, you must be a great king down here, Achilles." And Achilles just shuts him down completely, delivers this jaw-dropping line, rejecting the entire philosophy that defined his life and death.
What does he say?
He says he would rather be alive on earth as the lowest kind of servant, a landless peasant working for hire, than be king over all the lifeless shades of the dead.
That one line just turns the whole heroic code on its head. The guy who chose glory over life now says, life, any life, is better.
It completely validates Odysseus' own choice to reject Calypso's offer. It elevates the value of mortal existence, however difficult, above everything else.
Meanwhile, all these years, back home in Ithaca, his wife, Penelope, is facing her own trials. And she's showing she's his equal in menace, in cunning.
Absolutely. She's holding the whole kingdom together. She's got over 100 arrogant suitors basically occupying her palace, eating her food, drinking her wine, demanding she marry one of them, and even plotting against her son, Telemachus.
An impossible situation. How does she handle them?
With incredible cleverness and deception. Her most famous trick is the shroud. She tells the suitors she'll choose a husband as soon as she finishes weaving a burial shroud for Odysseus' old father, Laertes.
Okay, seems reasonable.
But every night, for 3 years, she secretly goes down and unravels the work she did that day. She buys herself time, mirroring her husband's strategic delays and endurance far away.
So when Odysseus finally makes it back, after 20 years, he doesn't just stride in like a conquering hero.
No way. He arrives alone, shipwrecked again, disguised as a ragged old beggar, helped only by the goddess Athena. He has to use all his patience, all his cunning, endures insults and abuse from the suitors in his own home, testing who is still loyal before he can finally reveal himself and take action.
And Penelope sets up the final test, doesn't she? The bow.
She does, still cautious, maybe not fully believing it could be him. She announces a contest. Whoever can string Odysseus' famously impossible to string great bow, and then shoot an arrow cleanly through the holes in 12 axe heads lined up.
Gives barrier.
Right. All the suitors try and fail miserably. Then the beggar asks for a turn. He strings the bow effortlessly, makes the incredible shot, and then all hell breaks loose.
The slaughter of the suitors.
He and Telemachus and a couple of loyal servants lock the doors and kill every single one of them. It's brutal, a necessary cleansing of the household.
But even after that, Penelope isn't quite convinced.
Still cautious. She needs one final intimate proof. She tests him with a secret about their marriage bed, a secret only the real Odysseus could possibly know, that it's built around a living olive tree and cannot be moved.
And when he gets angry, demanding who moved his bed.
Then she knows it's him. Only then does she finally accept him. It drives home that key takeaway. Home isn't just a place you get back to. It's something you have to fight for, reclaim, rebuild, prove yourself worthy of again. Resilience, patience, strategy, those are the ultimate heroic virtues here.
Okay, so from the epic poems sung for audiences, we shift now from the hero's journey to the stage. Athens, 5th century BCE. Homer gave them the myths, but Athens gave us drama, didn't it? Maybe the most radical storytelling innovation ever.
It really was revolutionary. And the origins are, well, kind of wild and unexpected. Athenian drama, both tragedy and comedy, grew directly out of these quite ecstatic, often drunken festivals celebrating Dionysus.
The god of wine, yeah. And fertility, frenzy.
Exactly. It apparently started with a group, a chorus, singing hymns to Dionysus. They were called dithyrambs, a collective performance.
And then one guy stepped out, Thespis.
That's the tradition. Thespis, supposedly, was the first to step out from the chorus and start speaking as an individual character, engaging in dialogue with the chorus. And boom, suddenly you have impersonation, you have acting. First actor. That's why actors are still called thespians.
And this wasn't some fringe art form, was it? Theater was huge in Athens.
Monumental. It was a massive civic event, part religious ritual, part democratic forum. The whole city would basically shut down. Thousands of citizens, mostly men, but maybe others too, would pack these huge outdoor amphitheaters.
And the plays themselves, they weren't just myths retold, they were tackling big issues.
Huge issues. They were competitive events funded by wealthy citizens, and they directly wrestled with the most important questions of the day. What is justice? What happens when the laws of the state clash with the unwritten laws of the gods or family?
And the biggest question underpinning tragedy, the one we still grapple with, are we in charge of our lives, or are we just playthings of fate? Which brings us right to Sophocles,
The master, and his most famous, most devastating play, Oedipus Rex, or Oedipus the King.
the ultimate tragedy, maybe.
What makes it so brilliant and so horrifying is its structure. It's not about watching the tragic events unfold in real time. It's about the slow, dawning, agonizing realization that the terrible things have already happened years ago.
It's basically a detective story.
The ultimate dark detective story, where the detective Olympus is passionately searching for the murderer of the previous king, Laius.
Only to discover, piece by painful piece, that he's the man he's looking for.
Oedipus is the king of Thebes. He's famous for his intelligence. He saved the city years before by solving the riddle of the Sphinx. Now, there's a plague devastating Thebes, and the oracle says it won't end until Laius' killer is found and punished. Oedipus, being the confident, take-charge guy he is, promises to find him.
And the audience. We know the story, right? That's the killer iron.
Exactly. Dramatic irony fuels the entire play. The Greek audience knew the myth. Oedipus was fated to kill his father and marry his mother. So every vow Oedipus makes to find the killer, every curse he puts on him, the audience knows he's cursing himself. His greatest strength, his sharp mind, his determination, his confidence becomes his hubris, his fatal flaw, driving him relentlessly towards the truth he can't bear.
He gets warnings, though. Tiresias, the blind prophet.
Tiresias practically spells it out for him, but Oedipus, in his pride and maybe paranoia, refuses to listen. He accuses Tiresias of being part of a conspiracy with Creon, his brother-in-law. He just won't stop digging.
How's the truth finally come out? It's like a tightening noose.
It's methodical, relentless. A messenger arrives from Corinth with news that Oedipus thinks is good, the man he thought was his father, is dead, so he thinks he's escaped half the prophecy. But the messenger reveals Oedipus wasn't that man's biological son.
Oh, no.
Then his wife, Jocasta, who is also his mother, though neither knows it yet, starts to put things together, remembering details about Laius' death at a crossroads where three roads meet. She begs him to stop the investigation.
But he can't.
He can't. Finally, they summon the old shepherd who was supposed to expose the baby Oedipus on the mountainside years ago but took pity on him, and the shepherd who survived the attack at the crossroads where Oedipus killed Laius. They piece it all together. The whole horrifying truth is laid bare.
And Jocasta.
Jocasta runs off stage and hangs herself. Oedipus, finding her, is completely broken. He takes the golden brooches from her dress
And blinds himself. Gouges out his
Still
eyelid.
screaming that his eyes should never again see the sun or the wretched things he has done and suffered. It's just brutal.
What's the takeaway? It feels so hopeless.
It's the essence of the tragic worldview. If a man as intelligent, as capable, as fundamentally decent as Oedipus can be utterly crushed by destiny, by forces he couldn't even see until it was too late, what chance does anyone have? It suggests human greatness is incredibly fragile, that our strength can be our doom, and that maybe we're all fundamentally blind to the real forces shaping our lives.
While tragedy was plumbing those depths on stage, something else was happening in Athens. A new literary form, focused not on fate, but on logic and ideas. The philosophical dialogue.
Right, and the towering figure here is, of course, Socrates. Though, interestingly, he never wrote a word himself.
Everything comes through Plato, mostly.
Exactly. Socrates was this famously unconventional, maybe even ugly figure wandering Athens, the gadfly, he called himself, constantly stinging the state, the powerful people, into thinking critically.
His method was just the Socratic method.
Yeah. Pure questions. He'd approach someone who claimed to be wise, a general, a politician, a poet, and start asking seemingly simple things. What is courage? What is justice? What is beauty? And then, through relentless logical cross-examination, he'd show them that their confident answers were full of contradictions, that they didn't really know what they were talking about. He claimed he knew nothing except that he knew nothing.
Which understandably annoyed a lot of powerful people.
To put it mildly, eventually they'd had enough of being publicly embarrassed. They trumped up charges impiety, corrupting the youth of Athens, and put him on trial. He could have escaped, his friends arranged it, but he refused. He accepted the death sentence and drank the hemlock.
And Plato, his student, was just devastated.
Completely. And he basically dedicated his life's work to preserving Socrates' memory and ideas, making sure his voice wouldn't be silenced.
And he did that through these dialogues, which aren't just transcripts, are they? They're literature.
Absolutely. They are miniature dramas, The characters have distinct personalities, they use rhetoric, they get frustrated, they argue. The tension isn't usually about plot, it's about the clash and refinement of ideas. Plato invented a way for philosophy to be dramatic.
And maybe the most famous example of Plato using a story, a literary device, to explain a complex philosophical idea is the allegory of the cave.
Right, from his massive work, The Republic, where he's exploring the nature of justice and the ideal society, the cave is this powerful image explaining his whole theory of knowledge and reality.
Can you walk us through it?
Sure. He asks us to imagine prisoners chained in a dark underground cave since birth. They're facing a blank wall and can't turn their heads. Behind them, there's a fire, and between the fire and the prisoners, people walk along a raised path carrying puppets or statues, shapes of humans, animals, objects.
And the fire casts shadows of these puppets onto the wall the prisoners are facing.
Exactly. For the prisoners who've known nothing else, those flickering shadows are reality. They give them names, they talk about them as if they're real things. They're completely mistaken, confusing appearance with truth.
Okay, then one prisoner gets free.
Yeah, somehow one prisoner is released, and it's painful at first. He's forced to turn around, see the fire, it hurts his eyes. He sees the puppets, the actual objects casting the shadows, and he's confused. They seem less real, less substantial than the shadows he's used to.
It's disorienting.
Very. Then he's dragged forcibly up a rough path, out of the cave altogether, and into the blinding sunlight of the upper world.
And this upper world, for Plato, represents
True reality, the realm of the forms, the perfect, eternal concepts of things like justice itself, beauty itself, goodness itself. These forms are the ultimate reality, and the physical world we perceive, like the puppets, is just an imperfect imitation. The sun represents the highest form, the form of the good, which illuminates everything else.
So the freed prisoner adjusts, his eyes get used to the light, and he finally understands true reality. But the story doesn't end there, does it?
No, the crucial final step is that the philosopher, the one who has seen the light, feels compelled to go back down into the cave.
But to free the others.
To try. But now, back in the darkness, his eyes aren't used to it anymore. He can't see the shadows clearly, he stumbles around. When he tries to tell the other prisoners about the world outside, about the real objects in the sun, they think he's crazy. They mock him.
And if he tries to force them to leave?
They might even turn on him and kill him, which of course is exactly what Plato felt happened to Socrates.
Wow.
Socrates was the one who tried to lead the Athenians out of the cave of their unexamined beliefs, and they killed him for it. So the allegory is both this profound explanation of Plato's metaphysics and epistemology, and a poignant tribute to his martyred teacher. It shows literature being used to make the most abstract philosophy graspable, human, and deeply moving.
Okay, let's cross the Adriatic now. From Athens, the philosophical heartland, to Rome, the masters of empire, law, engineering.
But when it came to high culture, literature, art, they were huge admirers, maybe even imitators, of the Greeks. There's that famous quote from the Roman poet Horace.
Captive Greece took captive her savage conqueror.
Exactly. It perfectly captures that dynamic. The Romans conquered Greece militarily, but Greek culture conquered Rome intellectually and artistically.
But they didn't just copy, did they? There was a Roman flavor, a shift in emphasis.
No, definitely. While they adopted Greek forms, epic, drama, lyric poetry, the Roman sensibility was different. Greek literature often celebrates individual brilliance, philosophical questioning, sometimes even rebellion. Roman literature on the whole tends to emphasize practicality, patriotism, order, social cohesion, and above all, duty. The good of the state often comes first.
Which leads us directly to Virgil and the great Roman national epic, the Aeneid. This wasn't just Virgil decided to write a poem, was it? There was a political context.
A massive political context. Virgil was writing during the reign of Augustus, Rome's first emperor. Augustus had finally ended decades, nearly a century, of brutal civil wars. Rome was exhausted, fractured. He desperately needed a story, a founding myth that could unite the Roman people, give them a sense of shared, glorious destiny, and not incidentally, legitimize his own rise to power and the new imperial system.
So Virgil's job was basically to write Rome's answer to Homer, but with a Roman spin.
Pretty much, and he did it brilliantly by linking Rome's origins back to Troy. His hero, Aeneas, isn't Greek. He's a Trojan prince who escapes the burning city after the Greeks win. And the defining quality of Aeneas isn't Achilles' rage or Odysseus' cunning metis, it's pietas.
Pietas, that's a key Roman word, right? hard to translate perfectly.
It is. It means something like a profound sense of duty, devotion, responsibility to your family, especially your father and son, whom Aeneas carries and leads out of Troy, to the gods, but most importantly, to your historical destiny. Aeneas is fundamentally burdened by his fate, which is to survive his ordeals and eventually found the precursor to Rome in Italy.
So he's not always a happy hero.
Far from it. He's often described as sad, weary, weighed down. He's a reluctant hero in many ways, constantly having to subordinate his personal desires and feelings to the greater mission imposed on him by fate and the gods.
And the most famous, most heartbreaking example of that is his relationship with Dido, the queen of Carthage.
Oh, absolutely. It's the emotional core of the epic. Aeneas and his Trojan refugees get shipwrecked on the coast of North Africa near the newly founded city of Carthage, which is ruled by the powerful, charismatic Queen Dido, herself in exile.
And they fall in love deeply.
Genuinely, passionately in love, Aeneas finds refuge, comfort, maybe even happiness. He starts helping Dido build her city. He lingers. For a moment, it seems like he might stay, forget his destiny in Italy.
It's the ultimate test of his pietas, isn't it? Personal happiness versus historical duty.
Exactly, and the gods won't allow it. Jupiter sends Mercury down to remind Aeneas quite harshly of his mission. He has to leave Carthage, leave Dido, and sail for Italy. It's not a choice.
Then the breakup scene, it's brutal.
It's one of the most devastating scenes in all literature. Dido confronts him, furious, heartbroken, accusing him of betrayal. And Aeneas, he's weeping too. He doesn't deny his feelings, but he insists he has no choice. He says famously, "Italiam non sponta secor, I do not seek Italy of my own free will. He must obey fate."
Duty trumps love
Yeah.
every time for Aeneas.
It has to, and the consequences are catastrophic. As Aeneas' ships sail away, Dido climbs onto a massive funeral pyre she's had built, curses Aeneas and his descendants for all time, and then kills herself with the sword Aeneas had given her.
And this tragedy serves a purpose for Virgil's Roman audience, right? Beyond the personal story.
A huge political purpose. Dido's curse becomes the mythical origin story for the Punic Wars, the series of incredibly bloody existential conflicts fought between Rome and Carthage centuries later. It justifies Rome's eventual destruction of Carthage as the tragic but necessary consequence of this ancient betrayal and curse. It makes the empire's history seem fated, inevitable.
But the poem isn't just straightforward propaganda, is it? You mentioned a sense of sadness.
So it makes the Aeneid so complex and enduring. Yes, it celebrates Roman destiny and imperial glory, but it's absolutely saturated with this deep sense of melancholy, of loss, of the human cost of empire. Virgil coins this unforgettable phrase, lacrimae rerum.
The tears of things.
Yeah, the tears that are somehow inherent in the nature of existence, in history itself. He acknowledges that building an empire, achieving that glorious destiny, requires immense sacrifice, causes profound sorrow, breaks hearts, destroys lives like Dido's. It's a celebration, but a mournful one.
And Aeneas eventually gets to Italy, has his own journey to the underworld.
Where his father's ghost shows him a parade of future Roman heroes, figures the Roman audience would recognize, like Scipio Africanus, Caesar, Pompey, culminating, of course, in a glowing prophecy about the Golden Age under Augustus himself. It solidifies Aeneas' destiny as the founder whose suffering paved the way for Rome's greatness.
So looking back across these foundational epics and dramas, we have Achilles, the embodiment of rage, but also the potential for empathy. Odysseus, the master of cunning, choosing humanity over immortality. Oedipus, the brilliant man crushed by unavoidable fate and his own hubris. And Aeneas, the dutiful but sorrowful servant of destiny.
Those are the archetypes, the frameworks, laid down by the Greeks and Romans. They gave us these incredibly powerful models for the hero, flawed, complex, struggling. They invented the structures of drama, tragedy, and comedy that we still use. And they created literary forms, like the dialogue, for wrestling with the biggest philosophical and political ideas.
Forging collective values, national identities, it all comes back to these stories, the echoes of Olympus, you call them, still shaping how we tell stories today.
Absolutely. But as vast and influential as this Greco-Roman world was, it's still just one corner of the ancient literary landscape. Our journey through the story of literature is a global one.
So where are we heading next?
Next time, we leave the Mediterranean completely. We travel east to a different continent, a profoundly different spiritual world, a civilization with an incredibly ancient and complex literary tradition. We're going to a place where the epics aren't just stories people told, but are considered sacred texts, shaping the beliefs and lives of well over 1 billion people today.
Sounds incredible. Where is that?
We're heading to the Indian subcontinent, We'll be exploring epics that make Homer look concise works like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, which are 5, maybe even 10 times the length of the Iliad and Odyssey combined. We're about to dive into the vast, complex, and truly mesmerizing ocean of stories.
And this was another episode from our series, The Story of Literature from English Plus Podcast. Remember that what we mentioned is just an introduction for you to step into the huge and beautiful world of world literature, so don't settle for what you have learned in this series. Start hunting for the hidden gems you can find in literatures all around the world, and don't stray far at the beginning. Start from your own culture and literature. I bet there's a lot of magnificent works of literature to be found right in your own backyard. Thanks for listening. Stay curious and never stop learning with English Plus Podcast.